Hello and welcome to this October 4th, 2017 edition of the movieboozer.com virtual pubcast. My name is Bill Arsenault. I am the temporary host of the show as Ken Ekman's internet is currently down. He may or may not be joining us sometime later in the evening. I am joined right now by the great Hawk Ripjaw.
Hello.
Okay, the great Hawk Ripjaw. Hello.
I was going to say October 4th, 2017 is a very specific edition.
Yeah, I know, right? That makes it sound like today was like a very important day or something. It really isn't an important day unless the only thing I could think of that happened was one of our government officials supposedly called Trump a moron.
Yeah.
And he came out and denied it. It's like, I
and
never
then he
called
was
him
like,
that.
no, I really did do it. And then I don't know who the fuck knows anymore.
Yeah, no one really cares. Well, actually, people do care, but it's like this is a non-issue.
But it was an important day for someone.
It had to be, right?
Somebody had an important day somewhere.
Yeah, so it's like that saying when you drink early in the morning, it's 10 a.m. somewhere in the world.
I've never heard that.
You've never heard that?
Version. I've heard it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Okay, well, 10 a.m. somewhere in the world was a riff in an episode of Mystery Science Theater, so maybe they were making fun of that other phrase.
Oh, it must be, yeah.
It was a good line. It made me laugh hysterically when I heard it. It was on the episode Danger Death Ray in season 6, I believe. Well, anyways,
okay.
We're here to talk movies as per usual, and starting off with, we will be talking about a movie
as normal.
As per average, as per usual. We're going to talk Tom Cruise's. We're going to start things off with Tom Cruise's latest film, American Made, directed by Doug Liman. This is a film that both I and Hawk Ripjaw were able to see, and I will let Hawk Ripjaw take the floor on this one.
American Made. Well, first of all, I got assigned this to review, and I was like, okay, Tom Cruise is doing a movie, whatever.
Oh, you were assigned to this.
Yeah. The review is currently up on movieboozer.com. So I was like, I had to watch it, whatever. It was fine. It wasn't like I was dreading it, but it wasn't a movie that I was like excited to go see per se.
Yeah.
I saw it, and I was not prepared for how much I was going to enjoy it at all.
Yeah, it's surprising because I went in with pretty much the same feeling. I saw it with my brother. I took him to see it because we didn't really have much else to do that night, and I was like, you know what? I kind of want to see American Made, but I'm not really expecting much good from it. But do you want to see it because it's Tom Cruise? And my brother was like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. So we checked it out, and we actually had a really good time. It reminded me of, in some ways, of Andrew Niccol's Lord of War with Nicolas Cage.
It's like Lord of War and War Dogs.
It's a light version of Lord of War because that movie was very heavy with politics and its message. This movie, not so much. This movie's more kind of like a frolic.
It's heavy on politics in a different way.
Yeah.
Because it's for those that don't know, this is about Barry Seal, the bored TWA pilot for an airline who decided to quit his job when the CIA offered him a position exchanging intelligence, taking pictures of the communists in Central America, and then later exchanging intelligence with Contras in the area on the communists, and that later escalated into running drugs back to America for the cartels, shipping guns back to the Contras, who then turned their guns over to the cartels, which inadvertently created the cartel, like the one that everybody refers to when they say the cartels, and of course one of the most dangerous organizations in the history of the United States.
And then training the Contras, having them come to America to train them for hopefully an eventual revolution, which obviously was a misguided attempt by the Reagan administration.
Right, and everything. We said that Lord of War was very heavy on politics, and the American Made is heavy on politics as well, but in a different way, where it's kind of all the things that it's talking about are very serious, but it's kind of like
it's very loose about it. It's very humorous
and nihilistic.
Nihilistic is a good word. Yes,
like, hey, guess how fucked we are because the government's so corrupt.
He's like, I'm the guy that delivers.
Yeah,
and they have a shot of
what did he call? I'm the gringo.
I'm the gringo.
The gringo that gets it done, or whatever he said.
Something like that, yeah. He's like, now I'm working for the White House.
You know? And the movie has a great way of just kind of, again, at the beginning, it's like based on a true story, and it's so ridiculous that you're not really sure how much of it is actually true, but the movie doesn't really care what you believe is true or not. It's just giving it to you.
Yes, absolutely. This is not a movie that treats the facts in a way where it's kind of shoving it down your throat or anything like that. Things happen that definitely happened, but Barry is really what I loved about this movie is Tom Cruise plays Barry Seal, not really as a good guy or a bad guy. He's just kind of a guy.
He kind of reminds
particularly corrupt. He's not particularly righteous. He's just sees an opportunity and takes it on.
He's just after the American dream.
Pretty much, yeah. He's American made. There you go.
Yeah. I liked his character because, and it's worth noting this is a very, very good Tom Cruise performance. And it really reminded me that even when he's going to be too old for action flicks, he still has charisma to spare.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what's funny too here is that his female counterpart, the woman that plays his wife in this movie, is like 20 years younger than him. Mm-hmm. So he could still do that whole I'm getting older, but my actresses stay the same age thing.
Yeah. All right. All right.
Yes, they do.
It's he kind of reminded me of Fletch sometimes, where he could kind of bullshit himself out of any situation, even as he's getting backed into a corner.
Yeah, not as funny as Fletch, but definitely as charismatic, I would say.
Yes,
just in a sometimes in a different kind of way. Like he would get serious with the cartels. Like, hey, either I fly fatty, or I fly your drugs. You know,
right?
And they let him fly the drugs, you know, because they were desperate. But he had this attitude, this swagger. You know, like he opens up a little hatch in his plane. He's like, that's your $1 billion hatch right there. You know? And what I love is this is a guy from Louisiana, supposedly. And so I kind of identified with him a little bit just on that geographical connection, because I'm a guy from Louisiana too.
And his accent kind of sounds like bullshit too, didn't it?
Yeah, it didn't. What do you think the character? Do you think Barry Seal made up the accent, or do you think Tom Cruise was doing a bad accent?
No, I think it is made up. I think it kind of, remember back when, George W. Bush has this very heavy drawl, and a lot of people there was this thing going around that he was faking the drawl to appeal more to the middle class American, the working Bible Belt American.
Yeah.
So I think that it's possible that Barry Seal as a character was faking an accent to sound more American.
That's an interesting thing. The movie never really gives you a hint as to if that's what he's doing or not. It's never like there's never like a bit where he's in private and he's talking normal for him. So it's hard to say, you know, if that was something the movie was intending, or if that was something Tom Cruise brought into the role. But that's an interesting theory. I like that, you know.
Or it could have been even more involved pastiche of American citizens, where Lehman and I don't know if it's Doug Lehman or Doug Lyman.
I don't know. I say Lyman, but it could be Lehman.
We'll call him Doug.
Yeah, just Dougie.
Dougie and Tom Cruise, maybe kind of just because this whole story is sort of cheeky in a way, so it's almost like the Southern accent was kind of blowing this ridiculous story up even a little bit more, like it's been retold secondhand a couple of times. So, you know, a couple more times, Tom Cruise gets cancer and develops telekinetic powers or something ridiculous like that. Like it feels like something's been filtered through a couple of times where the story gets retold so many times that facts get muddled, and then all of a sudden Tom Cruise
suddenly it becomes a legend, and not
yes.
And
really obviously Tom Cruise looks nothing like the real Barry Seal, so I think that kind of lends itself to that as well.
That's a good point. I never really thought about that, but yeah, he looks like a regular person, but more handsome than a regular person. But if you were to, he hires these other pilots to help him out, like friends of his who fought in wars and stuff, and they look more like the type of guy that would be doing this.
Yeah.
Barry Seal, as Tom Cruise plays him, looks more like a guy that could get away with doing something good, genuinely, and have a good life. He doesn't have to just be, schlubby, I work for the TWA guy. He looks like I live in a bubble and I can get whatever I want guy.
Exactly. Which got really comical in the back half of the movie when Tom or Barry and his wife had literally more money than they knew what to do with.
Yeah,
like he tries to open a closet and stuff it in there, and it's like the closet, it's like a freezer that's overstuffed.
It explodes with cash. There's a scene where the FBI is strolling through, I believe it was Mena, Arkansas. That's where the CIA moved him and his family to. And the FBI is driving through town, like some FBI agent is, and he notices there's like 5 or 6 banks on one street.
He also and this is one of my favorite shots. Is I think it's in the same panning shot, a homeless man scrounging for change in a payphone, and then at least 3 or 4 luxury cars driving past in a line.
It suddenly becomes that Adam Sandler remake, Mr. Deeds, where Deeds comes back to his hometown and gives everybody Cadillacs or BMWs or whatever. Isn't this friggin' awesome, guys? Guy now, he gave us cause. It's almost that scene anyways is kind of like that. The town suddenly flourishes, and when we get to it, they make a point to show us the town before and the town after Barry Seal arrives. The town is like on the economic decline. It's on the end of the decline. It's already like suffered. There's like,
this Cold War Depression era, right?
Yes, there's buildings for lease. There's several signs up for that. There's homeless people, but there's a barbecue that Barry Seal points out. He's like, "Hey, there's a barbecue, huh? Yeah, that's something." Yeah. so this is a place that's got shit going for it. Right, it's got shit going for it. But when Barry Seal starts pumping money into the bank, suddenly all these opportunities come up, and multiple banks start opening because he can't keep pumping money into one bank, but also because simply the town has more money now. And even the local cop is like, we shouldn't be asking questions. He's doing good for the town.
Right.
So even he's kind of like, well, whatever he's doing, it's working. So, whatever. And I would be asking questions when the Contras started showing up, just wandering town, like, hello, something's up here. Yeah.
I liked the Fargo vibe I got from the cop, who I can never, ever since seeing it,
I can't think of his name, but he was in Breaking Bad.
I can never look at him without thinking his given name on the internet, his meme name is Meth Damon, because he kind of looks like Matt Damon. He looks
like a meth version of Matt Damon. Yes, exactly. He does.
And he's a total dipshit in this movie.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, no, he's not. He's actually. I think we're thinking of JB.
Well, JB is a total dipshit, but I guess Meth Damon does like do his part later on. But so far, like early in the movie, they're in their sheriff's office, which is a trailer, and right. He is the one sheriff, and the receptionist, the cop or whatever, is his wife, and they're just kind of hanging out. He's eating, she's filing her nails, like nothing's going on in this town.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him a dipshit though. I'd call him more like a schlubby.
Schlubby is probably better. Yeah.
JB is a dipshit. JB is played by and I can't think of the actor's name right now, which is probably not a good way to start off with this actor is played by, oh, wait, I forgot his name.
But he reminds me of this other person with a name.
Yes. Now I remember the movies he was in. He was in Get Out that came out this year. He played the son. He played the brother of the guy's girlfriend.
That's where I recognized him from.
He looks like he's like a, what's that word on South? He's a ginger, isn't he? He's got like pure red hair. He's got freckles. He's pale as fuck. He's got a very dirty looking red-haired mustache.
And I love the first shot of him too. Like the door opens and you're like, "Oh fuck, this guy," because
exactly
he's got his one of those stupid ass backpacks that just has the strings instead of the straps, and he's shirtless.
Yeah. He looks like what I imagine the real life Kevin Federline would look like as a celebrity. He looks like that. Like if K-Fed had never married Britney Spears, this is what K-Fed would be up to. He would be the douchebag brother-in-law which is what he plays in this movie. JB plays the douchebag brother-in-law who gets a quick job working at the airport that Barry has been given to operate his stuff out of, and all he's doing is like push brooming, but you assume a character like this is on his last legs and he needs an opportunity, and instead he's treating the dust brooming like it's a fucking nuisance.
Yeah.
But he should be thankful that he has this job. He should be like doing everything he can to not be in the way.
But it kind of exists as a different type of American made.
Yeah.
So you have many types of American people and many types of American made, but the two biggest ones are those that set out to make their own wealth and those that expect a piece of the pie without doing anything.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. JB certainly does represent that. There's that scene where he, first off, he arrives at the home with a fucking obnoxious-looking new car with a Confederate flag on it, of course, and he's got like a 15-year-old girlfriend, and and Tom Cruise pulls him aside, and I call him Tom Cruise because that's just who he is. He's not really. He does a good job of this movie acting, and this is one of his best performances in a long time, but he's not really always Barry Seal. He's also just Tom Cruise, the movie
still
star.
Tom Cruise.
So he pulls JB aside, and he's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? How'd you pay for this car? And he's like, dude, I'm not going to lie to you. I took the money.
I'm going to be honest with you. I took some money.
Yeah, and then later in the movie, he does it again, and he gets caught by the silly cop. He walks into a diner with a briefcase that's literally pouring out cash.
It's like the cartoon.
Like it's a cartoon.
Yeah, it's in a cartoon. You illustrate that a briefcase is full of money when it's bulging and bills are sticking out of it, and that's literally what this looks like in real life. Yes. In the movie.
Hello.
Hello,
hey guys.
Bill.
Hey Bill, what's up? You want to turn your webcam off or?
No, I'm all about it right now.
I can't see any of you.
Yeah, all right. I can see him. That's fine. There's no problem with it. I just didn't know if you wanted to do that for quality purposes.
I'm all about it. Let's get on camera.
Okay, all right. Well, we're talking American Made right now, the Tom Cruise movie that came out.
Is that the tag team American Made? American Made? You remember what I'm talking about? American Males? That's a thing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, okay, I won't. But no, we're knee deep.
No, I heard you talking about fancy cars and 15-year-old girlfriends. I thought I walked in on a review of Heavy Metal Parking Lot.
Not yet. Though I think that takes place in the same era as this movie.
That might be correct, actually. Yeah.
That was like what, late 70s, early 80s, something like that.
No, that was late 80s. That was like 87.
That was late 80s.
Yeah.
That was way past the era of American Made.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about the story of Barry Seal, who got involved in the Contra drug trade.
I'm aware. Yeah, I'm aware of the film. How is this doing financially? Because the ad budget for this thing must have been really high, because I kept seeing advertisements for this like every.
I think it's doing okay. It's not doing nearly as well as they want it to do.
They really front loaded the ads for this, because I saw it everywhere on television, YouTube, maybe even a radio ad here too, because I got friends that listen to sports radio.
Sports radio.
Okay.
Yep.
The other thing I really, really liked about American Made was the performance of Domhnall Gleeson.
Yeah.
Who is the redheaded CIA agent?
That's another
Schaefer.
he's the powerful redhead, whereas JB's the douchebag redhead.
Yeah,
like that's kind of weird. They have two redheads. I mean, that's not a problem for me. I got nothing against redheads. I'm just saying that's kind of an awfully big coincidence, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he plays he plays Schaefer, the CIA agent looking to come up in the organization, who comes up with all these different plans and plots, and Barry Seal's the guy that's going to get it done for them.
So he's the devil on Barry's shoulder.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly. I loved how he's introduced in the movie too. We first see him over the shoulder, kind of blurry, you know, in an airport bar over Tom Cruise's shoulder, and then Domhnall Gleeson Schaefer, he calls out, "Hey, Barry Seal." And, you know, Tom Cruise looks over like, me? Well, yeah, that's me. What's up? You know, and that's how they get going. But you don't really see his face at first. It's very obscured, you know, and then he comes into picture when he comes closer to Barry. And I really like that. Yeah. Speaking of the photography of this movie, what did you think of all the zooms?
I really liked the kind of documentary look to it.
Is that what, do you think that's what they were going for? The more handheld, you know, as the action happens, we're going to be there, eyewitness news style.
I think it kind of lended itself well to the fact that this movie plays it fast and loose with the facts, because there's even a couple of sequences where Barry is narrating. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're down in this country." No, wait, that's not. It's this one over here. Like, he fucks up on the map. Which again, and this whole thing this movie is going for is like, how much of this is true? So I think the kind of the freewheeling camera style for the movie kind of went for that same thing.
Yeah,
it takes itself. It's very, I don't want to say lazy, maybe listless.
It reminds me of a Duplass Brothers movie. If you've ever seen Jeff Who Lives at Home, or rather Jeff He Who Lives at Home. That movie is chock full of handheld and zooms, specifically unnecessary zooms. This movie doesn't have nearly as many of those, but they are there. There's one in which they show a shot of the White House, and they zoom in for no reason. They just do a quick zoom. It's almost like an artificial zoom where they did it in an editing program, and the pixels get exposed, and you know it just kind of goes in a little too much, and I thought to myself, why did they do that? Was that like a sniper vision or something? Like I don't get that, you know. It was a little peculiar, I thought, but for the most part the rest of the movie didn't really have the documentary style did fit in. It's just there were some moments where it felt a little obnoxious and not necessary.
It didn't bug me too much. It also kind of, the other thing that it kind of did for me was that it, Barry's style and his way of conducting business and evading the police is very scrappy.
Yeah, he comes up with this plan where, like, small engine planes can fly longer than bigger planes. So, boys, we're going to take them for a ride.
Yeah, getting pursued by these military DEA jets.
Yeah. Or maybe
he finds out that he can just coast for miles while they're just burning fuel.
Right, and once they're done, then he can take off. And then eventually they get wise to him, and that leads to the famous scene where he crashes somewhere in Louisiana. I think it was the Baton Rouge area, actually. And he's covered in coke. And his hair is all frizzy and fucked up, you know, and he steals a kid's bike. Or he buys the bike from the kid, so he doesn't steal it. He buys it for way more than it's worth, and it just rides off. Hey, y'all didn't see me, even though I'm covered in coke. I'm easily
the classic.
And literally crashed a plane into your house.
That scene is in every trailer.
Well, yeah, of course. That was
one of
also
the big moments of the movie.
It was one of the big publicity stills they released during the production. Was a picture of Tom Cruise covered in white crap, and people going like, "Look at his wig." I was like, I don't think that's a wig, but poof out a lot more. Could be a wig. I have no idea if Tom Cruise is balding. He doesn't seem like he's someone who has that gene. Maybe he does. I don't know. But if he does, he hides it very well. Maybe it's all the thetan levels in his body. I don't know.
The low thetan levels.
No, he's got high thetan. Oh wait, no, it's low.
You want to lower your thetan levels in Scientology. Right?
You want to lower your thetan levels, right, to be a higher level. He's at the level where he can cure people with drug diseases and drug addiction and stuff. He can fly.
He can fly.
Yes. Give it like 20 more years, and we'll see if this Scientology thing has any credit. And that's how we know.
It doesn't. Spoilers. It doesn't.
Why, you try it?
He hasn't tried it. He doesn't have to.
Just no.
He's gonna play whenever they reboot Peter Pan again in like 10 years. They're gonna hire him.
Cruise's Peter Pan.
Peter Pan.
Reboot of Hook, where it's like an older man.
He'll play the Dustin Hoffman part as Captain Hook, but Captain Hook will be able to fly this time. So we'll get that Agent Smith Neo sky battle, but with Captain Hook and Peter Pan.
Will it be like that movie? Will it be like that movie Pan with Hugh Jackman?
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Man, they had a part where they all sing a Nirvana song.
The Nirvana song. I have seen that, and that is like what happened.
I'll tell
you what happened.
Hook and Pan were friends.
The director Joe Wright was like, his original thought was pirate shanties. Like, yeah, pirates sing songs, right?
So let's have him sing Nirvana.
Yeah, exactly. That was the thought process. Like,
hello,
it's almost as bad as
hello.
It's almost as bad as the George Lucas and his thought process on whatever it was, Strange Magic.
Oh, God.
Like, I was making this movie about animated characters, and I thought, wouldn't it be fun if they all sang modern pop songs too?
Can't we make a jukebox musical out of my weird Alan Cumming animated film?
Yeah, apparently so. It won't work, but we can do it. And that's exactly what they did. I'm almost ashamed to admit it. I actually liked Pan when I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked it for how weird it was. I didn't.
When's the last time you guys saw it? Have you guys watched it since the theater?
No, not at all. I only saw it in the theater.
I'm curious.
Theater, but I watched it since.
Okay, yeah, I'm curious as to how it holds up as a whole, just because it does seem kind of like an interesting failure. But I don't have
definitely interesting failure, and I will say that out of context and without the video, if you were to just listen to the Nirvana song, just like without the video, without the context of the movie, it's actually a pretty decent choral arrangement.
With the lights out, it's less dangerous. Here we are.
That's exactly what they do.
Entertain us.
That's pretty much what they do. That's how it goes. And Hugh Jackman comes in, entertain us.
Oh my God, I need to watch that again. It's been a while since I've seen the clip.
Big boisterous voice. Entertain us.
I come from a theater.
I always remember the clip they played of Hugh Jackman when during his bid for the Oscars in Les Mis. Zach is here.
Zach is here.
In Les Mis, there's a part where Hugh Jackman is ending his song, and he's stepping out of like a mausoleum or something, and he holds the same note and the camera holds on his face, and his eyes. His eyes get progressively redder as he's holding this note, like it hurts.
I could be wrong. You're talking about the shot that zooms out from the cliffside. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yep. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's like it's almost horrifying. Like my buddy and I were watching it, and we were half expecting him to turn into the demon from A Night on Bald Mountain and just fly away.
Chernobog, I think, is it.
And I am Gilbert.
That's Russell Crowe, but yeah,
I know, but that's what I always think of.
One of these two gentlemen is classically trained.
Nothing will ever compare to the sound that Javert makes when he dies.
Jean Valjean,
when he throws himself off the cliff, with this crunchy splat sound.
Oh, hello! It's great to meet you. My name is Jean Valjean.
What? They took some celery and they wrapped it in mayonnaise and just went.
It is like, have you seen it, Bill?
No, I haven't seen it, but I didn't. I feel like
you want to talk about an interesting failure? Yeah, Tom Hooper's Les Mis is just kind of an interesting failure. I felt like I didn't have
to see it because when you guys reviewed it, I felt like I saw it.
Yeah,
the descriptions were so vivid,
right?
You know, I was like, "Oh, that's the movie." Okay,
the movie is vivid. I distinctly remember Zach Jeremiah, who is with us in this room right now.
I think
his words were, if I remember correctly, it was directed to within an inch of its life by Tom Hooper.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. So I guess we've already talked. Oh yeah, Zach Jeremiah says correct in the chat.
Good.
We've already talked American Made. Very fun
American
movie.
Made.
Surprising movie. Very, very fun. We do recommend it if you have the chance to go see it. Go see it. What's next? I guess Gerald's Game on Netflix, the Stephen King adaptation. What did you think, Hawk?
Another surprise. I didn't really know much about this. Actually, to be honest, I kind of got my wires crossed between this and 1922. I was like, oh, so Thomas Jane is having sex with his wife and he dies, or she dies, and he throws her in the well. But they're two separate Stephen King movies. Gerald's Game, directed by Mike Flanagan, stars Bruce Greenwood and Carla Gugino.
Yeah, she was in Sin City. She was in
Watchmen. I just don't know how to pronounce her last name.
I say Gugino, but it could be Gugino. I don't
know. Anyway, it's based on a Stephen King story. These two this couples go up to a house in Maine of all places, and
they for Maine.
Yeah, right. It's they want to spice up their marriage, so they start by Gerald handcuffs her to the bed. And then he gets a little bit too into it, and she doesn't like it, and they start arguing, and then he dies of a heart attack.
What? This is not what I expected from a project called Gerald's Game.
Actually, from Stephen King, though, is exactly what I would expect from Stephen King.
But wait. Is the game in the title like his mojo, like his game? You know what I mean?
Oh, like he's got his groove back?
It's actually Gerald got his groove back by Stephen King.
I remember when that movie came out. My cousins really wanted to see it, and I refused.
Gerald and the flesh-colored crayon.
No. How Stella got her groove back.
Oh,
I just want to go see it, but they wanted to rent it.
I feel compelled to repeat that awful joke I just made. Gerald and the flesh-colored crayon by Stephen King.
You know, Stephen King, Red Letter Media recently did a review of the both It adaptations.
Yes.
And they called Stephen King a sex pervert. Which he may or may not be. I mean, it seems like he could be based on what he likes to write about.
I recall reading somewhere that Stephen King was abused
I don't think he's a legitimate
when he was like 12.
Okay, well that's something. I don't think he's a legitimate sex pervert. I don't think like he's ever actually abused anyone. Right. But I think what they're thinking is that he's kind of subversive.
I consider it like introverted perversion and extroverted perversion. Like as long as you're not affecting other people, like whatever, who cares?
I think he puts all of his eggs into one basket when it comes to scares. Like, you know, like he knows that a child being abused is one of the most horrific things, if not the most horrific thing that can happen.
I think a lot of writers know that because they kind of use it as a trump card.
But Stephen King goes for it all the time because he went through a period where he was just had cocaine for days and was, you know, crazy.
They say that's when It was written, correct?
Like,
around the Maximum Overdrive. Like
Maximum Overdrive was made.
Yes, we all watched, and especially that fantastic trailer for Maximum Overdrive, where
I'm going to scare the hell out of you.
Yeah, he seems like he's on coke through that whole trailer.
But we all know that Maximum Overdrive is a classic.
Yes,
it is. It should be on TCM Underground every Saturday.
Everywhere.
Well, I don't know about every Saturday, but.
People joke that they're kind of sad that he stopped doing drugs.
Yeah, well, it's good because he gets to live longer. It's bad because we don't get nearly as many batshit crazy stories.
Although we did get Dreamcatcher after I believe he was clean, and then he got hit by a car, and he was addicted to morphine at that point. That's why Dreamcatcher is so fucking crazy.
That's so sad.
The many addictions of Stephen King. That'd be a funny game show. Like somebody reads you a premise of a Stephen King story, and you're like, "What was he on at the time?"
Stephen King. Alcohol? No. Sorry.
So the answer was morphine. The morphine was the correct answer we were looking for.
Like, oh man, well, we all had fun tonight, folks. That's it for the Tonight Show.
That's a nice show.
But
it's
anyway,
a Jimmy Fallon sketch.
That's a bit dark for Fallon.
Yeah, he'll get there eventually.
It might be up his alley. Isn't he an alcoholic?
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't Jimmy Fallon a horrible alcoholic?
Is he?
I don't know about horrible. He might be doing all right as an alcoholic.
I've heard. Well, I mean, he's definitely a functioning alcoholic. I've heard rumors that that's the case. And if you Google or YouTube search like Jimmy Fallon drunk, you'll see all these videos of him like singing at bars with people.
Well, yeah, that's not just making alcoholic.
No, but I mean, there were news articles coming out that said like, oh, he's having trouble doing the Tonight Show every day because of this. Like this was how long ago was this, Bill? Like 2 years ago?
Something like that, yeah. It was
a while ago, yeah.
Looks like May of this year he kind of discussed his drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, he was doing a lot of it.
I mean, if you were Jimmy Fallon, would you get drunk every day?
Well, he did actually.
If I was Jimmy Fallon, yeah. But
yeah. Jimmy Fallon, he did say that he wasn't drinking every day. He's like, do you really think I could do a show every day if I was drinking every day?
I don't. Yes,
the question we're asking is, can he?
You can. I do think that you can, because look at like the 1970s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, everybody.
Well, they were doing more than just drinking back then. But.
Oh, I know that, but like look at, are you familiar with Paul Lynde, the gay comedian?
Yeah.
He was plastered all the time. Like he was on every TV show.
You get that funny laugh.
They say that Roger from American Dad's voice is based on Paul Lynde.
Oh, that makes sense.
Spicy daisies.
Yeah.
So Gerald's game.
So yes,
we left off at the heart attack.
Yeah, Gerald dies of a heart attack, which of course leaves his wife handcuffed to the bed. The front door is open. There's a feral dog that is waiting for her to die. And then her own mind starts playing tricks on her. So she starts hallucinating people telling... Actually, she hallucinates herself and her husband. Like, her husband is alive again, Gerald, telling her all these horrible things, like how she's going to die and nobody will find her. Whereas she hallucinates a version of herself who is much stronger than she is and is telling her what she needs to do to survive. And, laying out the details like, well, your hand won't fit through the handcuff, but you may be able to reach up to this shelf above you and grab the glass of water. And this leads to a lot of very intense sequences. So she's able to reach up with both hands and tilt the headboard a little bit so the glass of water slides down to her hand. But then she can't reach, she's able to grab it, and she can't get to it to drink it. So then something else earlier in the movie, she's able to, she remembers something from earlier in the movie, like, oh, I can use that thing to be able to accomplish what I need to do next. And then she puts the glass of water back up on the headboard, and then she drinks it later. And Mike Flanagan always he never lets the camera look away from when she's replacing the glass of water, for example, because every time that she has to grab or replace the glass, maybe the time where she drops it and it breaks. So it's always very intense. So that was the big thing about this movie, is that it's extremely intense, and a lot of times legitimately frightened me way more than it did. Because it is a different type of horror, like it's cosmic horror. Like a lot of people said, oh, it wasn't that scary. And then I tell them, well, it's scary because it is a cosmic being from a different dimension that considers your fears seasoning for you when it eats you. Like that, the fact that such a force exists is kind of frightening. Whereas Gerald's game preys on a lot more personal fears. And I think for that, it made it a lot more frightening for me.
Okay. Now, you said this was directed by Mike Flanagan.
He did Hush and Ouija Origin of Evil.
Okay. Flanagan reminds me of a character from the Kevin Smith Jersey universe.
That's that guy's real name.
Yeah, that is, but it reminds me of that. Yeah, Walt Flanagan.
Tell him, Steve.
Walt Flanagan's dog.
Which, for those who don't know, here's a weird little connection that has nothing to do with anything. Q from Impractical Jokers has a podcast with Walt Flanagan and Brian Johnson, who are Steve Dave and the Fanboy, respectively.
Yeah. Okay.
What's Impractical Jokers.
What's the podcast called?
Tell him, Steve Dave.
Oh, okay. I don't like Impractical Jokers. I think those guys think they're funny.
I
really
hate Impractical Jokers.
What? No, I disagree. I disagree with you, both of you guys. I laugh a lot at that show.
Fucking pisses me off everything they do. It makes me actually angry.
They
Why?
Yeah.
Because they're assholes.
They come off like,
I guess,
like, oh, we're so funny, guys. We're so funny.
they're playing it up for the camera.
Yeah, I know, but they're just not. Maybe they're good by themselves. Like maybe they're good.
I think they're funny on that show, but that's just me. I mean,
it's just I don't know. That and True TV shows it way too fucking much.
Well, that's
because it's like bread and butter. But I mean,
I think it started the trend of this whole YouTube fad where you do something shitty to someone, they're like, "Oh, it's just a prank, man. Why are you getting so worked up?" Like,
I don't think they do on Impractical
shit like that, but they started the trend. So you get these videos like
I know what you're talking about, like pranks in the hood and all that awful stuff. But
like running up behind somebody and punching them in the back of the head is not a prank. It's being a fucking asshole that's assaulting somebody.
Well, they didn't start that.
They didn't start. Well, they didn't. They started it indirectly. They started this trend of pranks. But even then, I think the stuff that they do is not very entertaining.
YouTube pranks have been a thing since before that show.
They kind of
I don't know. I think you guys are getting swept up in the zeitgeist of how popular that show is.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But yeah, you can't attribute them to awful pranks on YouTube because those have been a thing forever since YouTube started.
Sure,
but
there are funnier ways to do a prank. Like the Carbonaro effect, I think is dumb, but it's amusing.
I like the what's it called? Adam Ruins Everything.
Adam Ruins Everything is funny.
I like that show.
What's that Rachel Dratch show? I haven't seen that one yet.
Which one?
I haven't either, but that's what's kind of weird about like Impractical Jokers was such a huge hit for True TV that like all they do now is make comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to be they used to be Court TV. Then they became True TV, where they showed reality stuff, which was mostly crap.
And that and like World's Dumbest Criminals every other hour of the day.
Yeah, which I actually would watch. I actually thought that was kind of funny. You know, they would have guests on there who actually committed crimes. You know, and I thought, all right, that's pretty interesting. And then
there was always that. I remember reading about the one where the guy thought he could disguise his identity by wearing a plastic bag over his head, but it was a clear plastic bag, so you can still see his face.
I like the Duct Tape Bandit. The guy who put a roll of duct tape over his face, and he thought that would work, and of course it got stuck to his face and everything. And they actually interviewed the guy afterwards. And he's like, "Yo, baby, I ain't the Duct Tape Bandit. You know it." And the people on the show, like Leif Garrett and stuff, they're like, "No, you are the Duct Tape Bandit because they caught you. You were the guy." Yeah. So Gerald's Game.
It scared the piss out of me. Like there was there was actually a point where I had to pause it because I was getting so nervous. Because there's also a third element to the horror. That involves something or someone that may or may not exist, and that's part of what makes this movie so ingenious for me is that it is a single setting format for the most part. It takes place in this one room. She's chained to the bed, and she's just talking to her counterparts. There's a couple of flashbacks that explain why she is where she is, and there are also things that that talk about philosophically where we get to where we are. Like, her being chained to the bed. What have you done in your life, or what happened to you in your life that has brought you to this point? And it ends up being kind of an empowerment story as well. And it plays almost like a stage production, but Flanagan's use of blocking and character and dialogue and timing is so effective that you really don't get bored at all. It feels very dynamic. I mean, it's even something as simple as, she thinks she sees something in the corner, and the shot lingers on that corner for just a couple of seconds longer, and it just drags out the tension. So like it's so well directed. The only issue is the ending, and Ken, if he comes on and when he does, and next week when he's on, we'll have a lot more to say about this. But the ending takes a hard left from the rest of the movie in terms of style, and goes in a route where you're not sure they knew how they wanted to end it. Like that they had an epilogue there, but they're like, how do we do this? And then so they just kind of do it and get it over with. But it's not interesting. It's a little bit insulting in the way that it spoon feeds you the allegorical part of the story instead of letting it breathe for itself. But I wasn't too bugged by it. The rest of the movie was so entertaining for me that the ending being not quite so good, I was like, it's okay. I can forgive it.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. I'm not.
But as it stands, this is the best horror film of the year for me, and potentially one of the best films of 2017 for me as well.
Oh wow! Okay, that's good. And this is an interesting time for Netflix too, because isn't the Academy voting right now on whether or not, or on what to do with Netflix when it comes to nominations?
Yeah. Not to mention, Netflix is like something something tens of billions of dollars in short-term debt.
Yeah, which is funny because they keep spending money on productions and everything, or at least getting productions off the ground, and yet they're still in debt. So it makes you wonder, like, well, are they just have like a lot of investors, or like, what's the deal here? But,
yeah, I don't know. And someone else had mentioned the way that I think this is in regard to maybe American Vandal, that they just kind of put it out. Like there was a little bit of hype. Like if you happened to go on to Netflix and say, oh, it comes out, middle of September. But other than that, there was no marketing for it or anything. So, and then my counterpoint to that argument, the argument being that, like how do they expect their shows to succeed if they don't advertise it? Well, my counterpoint to that argument is that Netflix puts it out and lets the word of mouth speak for itself. So they're saving so much money on advertising that they can be putting into financing new shows and movies.
Yeah, I say Disney should just buy them. I mean, just let it happen. Or not. I mean, maybe it's better that they don't.
Oh, I keep seeing you pop up with you or noise coming from you, but I don't actually hear you talking.
Yeah, I realized that I was not actually on mute, which is fine.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
No, I'm not on mute on purpose. Yeah, I don't know what their deal is either. Not much. I don't know. Doing the same old.
You liked my video, the Trump presidential voters.
I did.
So Zach, you and I were talking the other day about Mike Flanagan. Have you had a chance to see Gerald's Game yet?
I have not. This weekend, hopefully, I'm going to tuck her in and get some movies watched.
We were kind of talking about how Flanagan and the director of Annabelle Creation.
Sandberg.
Sandberg.
Yeah.
I was trying to find him the other day, and instead of Sandberg, I Googled Gary F. Sanders and got like a bunch of
that's a different person.
That's that Gary Shandling show, right? Gary Sanders?
No, that's Larry Sanders.
I have no idea.
That was a joke, I know.
But between him and Flanagan, like we've got some really awesome, horror coming out here. I think we've got.
The guy did The Witch, and the thing about those two is they're just so damn prolific. I can't imagine.
Which was Robert Eggers, right?
Yeah, Robert Eggers. Flanagan puts out 3 movies a year.
Eggers is doing Nosferatu next, isn't he?
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's gonna be
all about that.
That's gonna be intense. Yeah, I don't know. We still have the Jennifer Kent, the Babadook lady.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's got stuff going on. Yeah, she's got stuff in the works. There's a lot of good horror, man, out there right now.
Have you guys heard about the shipping of Babadook and Pennywise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Babadook and Pennywise are both gay icons now.
Yeah. I love how that's just a thing.
I can't remember why that came about. I think somebody just suggested it.
Yeah, it gets on the internet.
A metaphor for depression and a clown that eats.
Why not?
Man, terror clowns need love too, I guess.
I mean, I think everybody's like, hey, why not? Fuck it.
Yeah,
Who cares?
I think Jennifer Kent was kind of like that. She's like, yeah, that's not really what I was going for, but awesome.
As long as people are happy,
she dug it.
People, keep those revenue checks coming, please.
Yeah,
that's what she had to do. She she did a licensing deal.
Not really.
No, I'm just saying. What if she did?
She should. I think might have been Draft House or something had a specific screening of the Babadook to raise money for gay youth charities or something along those lines.
Maybe it was the Florida shooting. Maybe it was the Orlando shooting.
No, I don't think.
I don't think the timeline matches up on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah.
Did you guys see Annabelle Creation?
No, I haven't seen it.
No, same here.
Annabelle Creation. That's good?
Creation is good, yeah.
Okay.
Annabelle.
Was Sandberg Lights Out?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah, Creation.
It's kind of like Oculus, which
and Oculus was Flanagan.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mike Flanagan did Oculus, Hush, Ouija 2, and then Gerald's Game, and then Sandberg did the Lights Out short film, which is fantastic if you have not seen it. Have you guys seen the Lights Out short film?
No, I haven't. No.
It's kind of what put him on the map, and it's insanely creepy. Really, really good. So check that out. And then he did Annabelle Creation, which is more of the James Wan brand of Conjuring horror. But one particular scene is probably one of the best in the entire Conjuring franchise. So it's very solid step up from Annabelle 1.
Yeah,
Annabelle 1,
which I didn't expect to be that much of a compliment, but.
No, I mean
just kind of like that second Oculus film.
I'll rephrase.
Oh, and
the
second.
There's a new Oculus movie.
No, I mean the second Ouija film was also surprisingly.
Yeah.
A jump up. Yeah.
Very effective.
Yeah.
So what's next?
Yeah, I think Hawk has another movie to talk about that he saw.
Kingsman 2, right?
Kingsman 2.
The Kingsman 2.
Wanted to get in on that.
The Golden
action
Circle.
a little bit. It's the Golden Circle. Yeah, right. I have not seen this. I don't think Bill Leon has seen it. Have you?
No, but we've all seen the first one, right?
Yeah. We've all.
Yeah, same here.
I like that first movie. I like that first
really
movie.
Good. The second one.
I like that first movie.
I like that OG Kingsman.
Oh yeah, Matthew Vaughn. Oh yeah.
Heads exploding, the rainbows. I dig
that. This is actually Vaughn's first sequel.
Yeah, because he hired some schmuck to do Kick-Ass 2, and it was awful.
Yeah, that was Jeff.
Not Jeff Nichols.
Jeff.
Can you imagine Kick-Ass 2 directed by Jeff Nichols?
Who's Jeff Nichols?
He's thinking of Andrew Nichols.
I'd watch it.
Andrew Nichols. Yeah. Okay. Fuck. Who directed Kingsman?
Andrew Nichols.
It was Jeff. Andrew Nichols is a good director, except for a couple films, so he's like half and half for me. But
didn't Andrew Nichols do In Time, the movie where?
Yes. I gave that a bad review for the site. And,
he also did Gattaca, which I think is still his calling card.
I think the worst part about In Time is where he's trying to save somebody who's almost out of time, and they had to dramatically run at each other from 100 feet away, and then throw themselves at each other.
Yeah, do that twice.
You know what though? Didn't Matthew Vaughn work on the script for Kick-Ass 2?
He did.
So even if he directed it, I don't know.
He also gave it his blessing. He's like, I've seen it. It's really good, guys.
It's not good. It's actually quite deplorable.
The comic. I was raving about the comics when that film came out, and I had just read the Kick-Ass 2 comics, but they might not hold up either. I don't know. It's weird because the story goes in all those weird directions and shit, and like.
Isn't it kind of sad how sometimes that can kind of shit on like the rest of the franchise? I think it kind of happened to Sin City, where you're like, oh.
Yeah, it was
Jeff Wadlow directed Kick-Ass 2.
Yes, Jeff Wadlow.
That's right.
Oh, I stole a Red Letter Media joke when that movie came out. I was like, the only thing Jeff Wadlow should be directing is people to the seats in the theater.
Yeah, Kick-Ass 2, I think the problem with that one
it's always directed sense.
It's way more. It's what?
He said that's always directed since.
Well, he's doing. No, he did True Memoirs of an International Assassin.
Oh, there you go.
Well, he's really stepping up in the world.
That movie, it's funny. You guys have seen the Netflix like screensaver when you're not clicking on anything, it'll like advertise stuff.
Yeah.
That movie comes up, and I'm like, who's watching that?
I watched half of it and stopped.
Stopped. Done.
I didn't want to waste my time, and this is coming from a person who paid $14 to see the Inhumans in IMAX.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. So, and I'm considering I've gone to my television. I've picked up my Xfinity remote, and I have spoken the words "Marvel's Inhumans" into the remote, and I have pressed the record button. So now I will be taking up DVR space for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's on my Hulu as well. Yeah, so it's.
All right, so
I don't know why I'm morbidly interested to see what the rest of it's gonna.
You guys have reminded me. I got TV shows to review. So Kingsman 2, The Golden Circle.
Yeah. Go ahead, Hawk.
It's fine. So
Channing Tatum, fine. What's the guy's name that won an Oscar?
Jeff Bridges?
No, not Jeff Bridges. I don't need no songs for poems. What's
Pedro Pascal? Did he win an Oscar?
No.
I think we're thinking of Colin.
Colin Firth.
Firth, yeah.
So anyway, Kingsman 2 takes place a little bit after the first one. He's dating the fucking Swedish princess from the first movie
that he had anal sex with.
And I might add, this movie continues that sort of casually misogynistic streak from the first movie.
I mean, she is a bimbo in the first one.
Yeah, and she's supposed to be a bimbo in distress, like a real relationship. But so it's Julianne Moore is the villain, and she is fucking insane in this movie. She plays a drug dealer, and her deal is everybody gets to buy and sell alcohol and tobacco, so why can't I also sell my drugs? So she has she has a resort in like some kind of fucking South American jungle place, and her stronghold is all styled after 50s landmarks. So there's there's an old time diner, and there's a movie theater, and there's stuff like that. It also leads to probably one of the best running jokes, not only in the movie, but probably one of the best running jokes of all year. She is holding Elton John prisoner, and I get the strong impression that Matthew Vaughn was like, "Hey, Elton John, your name is Elton John, so you can do whatever you want in this movie."
Yeah,
and I won't really go into any of the jokes that involve him, but nearly every single one is extremely funny. Just what they do with it, like little things that involve robot dogs and this and that, and again, no details because you should totally see it fresh. But that is one strong mark the movie has going for it. The problems I had with it is it's a little bit uneven. I read somewhere that the original cut of the movie was 3 hours and 40 minutes long.
What is this? The Man in the Iron Mask or Iron Fist or whatever?
Yeah, Man with the Iron Fist.
Yeah,
Man in the Iron Mask. That same movie. They both were directed by RZA.
I would watch Man in the Iron Mask directed by RZA as long as Leonardo DiCaprio came back.
And
played the same young character.
If it was Leonardo DiCaprio is the same character, and somehow we can make Russell Crowe everyone else in the movie.
Yes,
I'm okay with that. He explodes
yeah, including Jeremy Irons and Gabriel Byrne.
I would love to see. I'd love to see Russell Crowe do a Jeremy Irons impression. But anyway,
that would not work.
I think we all thought about attempting one, and then we just decided to move on.
Yeah.
It opens with well, it doesn't open, but part of it is part of the overarching plot is that Julianne Moore blows up all the Kingsman installments in around the world, and then the two remaining Kingsmen, Eggsy and Merlin, who is played by Mark Strong, relocate to America, where the Statesmen, including Jeff Bridges, Pedro Pascal, Halle Berry, and did I say Channing Tatum?
No.
Okay, good, because he's barely in the movie.
Oh, okay. They make it seem like he's in the movie, like
he's super nice. I would say he has a total of 20-minute screen time max, and that's generous.
Yeah, okay.
I kind of like how the character names got less racist on accident. I was cool with that.
Because they're all what do you mean less racist?
Because isn't Channing Tatum tequila?
Channing Tatum is tequila, and then Pedro Pascal is whiskey. Yeah, which is kind of weird. Now, rumor has it was
going to be Channing Tatum as whiskey, but he had to have a reduced role, and so Pedro Pascal, they swapped roles.
Exactly. Yeah. Actually, I think Pedro Pascal kind of absorbed a lot of his role.
Mm-hmm. I think they swapped roles straight up.
I'm not sure exactly. Like even Taron Egerton was not 100%. He's like, yeah, scripts always change during filming. What of it? It was going back to almost a 4-hour movie being cut down to 2 hours and 20 minutes. You definitely get the sense that there is missing plot here, or plot threads that kind of just were swept away in favor of more of the rest of the movie. Mm-hmm. Like there's this whole thing where it's like, oh, this is one part that I thought was really dumb. They need to track the location of Julianne Moore's character, so they go to Burning Man or like what's the British version of the music festival?
British version.
It starts with a W or maybe an M.
Glastonbury,
maybe something like that.
Is a big music festival there. Yeah,
it might have been that. And they're like, oh, this gadget is a condom. You put it on your finger, and then you finger the girl, and it puts a tracking device in her vagina, and then you can track her location.
What?
Yeah.
Like, wow. Okay, we might be reaching here just a little bit.
Whoa! I think somebody would know if you like stuck. And anyway,
well, no, it's not like it's a track. It's a tracking device that's activated by mucous membranes. So they put a lot of thought into this thing, into this scene. And before he does it, he goes into the bathroom and calls his girlfriend, the Swedish princess. He's like, "Hey, can I finger this girl so I can save the world?" And she's like, no. And then they get into a fight, and then that's kind of just then they're kind of estranged for a while because she's mad at him, and then they never revisit that plot thread again.
Oh, because it was just a joke.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's, again, like you can tell there was more to the story of that part, but then they kind of deleted it because they needed to cut the movie down from almost 4 hours.
See, I kind of saw the in the first movie at the end of it when he celebrates by having anal sex with the princess or the queen or whatever she is. She's I saw that more as like a temporary relationship. Like, we're just gonna have fun sex because we just saved the world.
Yeah.
Now they're dating now.
I didn't see that as something that needed to be continued whatsoever. I saw that as like a nod to James Bond having sex with a woman at the end of the movie.
Yes, yeah, that's absolutely right.
Totally.
It's kind of like
now he's in a relationship with her. I'm like, well,
and she's such a boring character. Like, it would have been so much better if he had been dating Roxy.
Yeah, that's kind of what I assumed would happen. There would be more of that romantic tension between those two, maybe.
Well, they get that out of the way really quick because Roxy dies in the first 20 minutes, along with the rest of Kingsman.
That's what
which really upset me because they kind of set her up as really interesting kind of Merlin type character to Eggsy, like who's behind the computers helping him out and stuff, and then like no, she dies. Although they'll probably bring her back in the next movie.
Just like they bring back
Colin Firth's character,
Spoiler, yes.
which apparently was supposed to be a huge reveal, but they showed it in the trailers, and Matthew Vaughn is not happy.
Well, even before there were trailers, it was announced like by news outlets that he was coming back.
But they really kept it mum in terms of like it might just be flashbacks and stuff. Like they didn't say he was coming back to a fully fledged role. But then the marketing really was like, nah, he's back. He's the main character. He's a trailer. Here's a poster. Here's his character. He's back. And again, that kind of diminished the dramatic effect of him being
like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And how does he come back exactly? They have some sort of brain fixing technology.
There's this so when someone dies, you take this gel packet and you wrap it around their head, and it regenerates their neurons and brings them back to life, but they lose a lot of their memories. And so Colin Firth has amnesia, and it's a very disappointing excuse for bringing him back.
This isn't like a super satirical franchise, but it's like I just keep thinking of like pull lever in case of sequel.
Yeah, exactly. And Julianne Moore's character is fun. Like she has a lot of fun. Like there's a part where in order to correctly vet a new entry to organization, she has this new guy toss the old guy into a meat grinder, and then she cooks it into a burger and makes him eat it. Yeah. That's literally what
I don't think I'm gonna like this movie.
It's so much. And the original film was a great send up of spy movies, and it was kind of like it was really smug about it, but in kind of a charming, cheeky way. And this movie's just kind of a little bit too far up its own ass.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because the first one was really good. It was really fun and subversive and all that stuff. But this sounds maybe Matthew Vaughn should have quit while he was ahead.
It's just a lot of movie. But there's some really good parts. I had a lot of good laughs from it. I enjoyed most of it. I thought, given the fact that it was severely cut down from the original cut, it felt pretty well paced, despite missing. It flowed really well, what they left in there. The inclusion of a villain reveal late in the movie felt very unearned. I won't reveal who it is, but it's kind of like you guys could have done better. The action is still really good. There's a lot of very fun action. Maybe something that is similar to the church scene in the first one, but it's not quite as great, but still has that same energy to it. So it definitely gets accolades for the look of it and the feel and the sound and everything is feels like more Kingsman. It just feels like a little bit too much more Kingsman.
So this is Matthew Vaughn doing the best he can. It doesn't sound like the script is entirely there.
But did he help write the script?
It feels like Matthew Vaughn taking a success from the first movie and running with it. Like they could have just kept the same tempo of the first film and it would have been great, but it's just more of everything. For better and for worse.
Yeah, I'm not sure the first one felt really fresh when it came out, especially after Kick-Ass 2 and the disappointment of him not being involved with the, shooting and directing of that movie.
Yeah.
I've been kind of lukewarm on the idea of a Kingsman sequel ever since it was announced, just because I was like, really, why? I can see the potential there, but it's sort of like, you nailed it the first time.
Yeah. And of course we were all happy to hear about a new Kingsman.
Sure.
I know that again, Ken's not here, but I kind of gave this movie a lot of grief, so I want to at least point out the fact that Ken really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to hearing his specific thoughts on it. He said, I think his wording was, "I kind of loved it." So I really want to hear his thoughts on it, and I think they're going to be very valid. But I think in the same way that he disliked parts of Gerald's game that I gave leeway to, it's the reverse for me, where the parts that he loved more of Kingsman, and I gave less leeway on the parts that I disliked.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's that.
that's Kingsman 2, The Golden Circle. Bill Arsenault, you had some movies,
yes,
right?
I did, but I was thinking about it some, and these were only movies that I had just seen on Turner Classic Movies, TCM. These were kind of surprise discoveries, which is a wonderful thing. Like when you're just flipping channels and you see something, you read the synopsis, and you go, "Oh, well, maybe I'll see what that's about." And then I follow the Twitter account Next on TCM, which is not official. It's not actually part of the company. It's just something a fan came up with, and it regularly posts the schedule for the next couple hours. It's like this movie's coming up and this movie's coming up, that kind of thing. So when they announced that Peter Weller in Of Unknown Origin was going to be playing on TCM Underground a couple weeks ago, I was like, what's that? It's Peter Weller. It's the 80s. There's something to it. And I read the synopsis. It's him versus a rat. And and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to love this fucking movie. And
right. That is on my to-do list because before you get into the movie, I would just like to talk about TCM Underground and plug the shit out of that because
I
am very nostalgic for like curated programming blocks on television. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like what Adult Swim is a little bit, but like, for those for those younger people that might be listening, they used to show like a marathon of movies late at night on a lot of channels back in, the late 80s, 90s. TCM Underground seems to be the only sort of cult movie marathon thing that is regular
in major network.
Yeah. And it's in regular rotation. And I try to watch it as much as I can because
you recently caught Eraserhead for the first time.
Yes, and we're going to talk about that later, but
we can talk about it now if you want. I mean, I don't care.
Well, we'll talk about it later because it's part of my October marathon.
Okay, all right. Well, Of Unknown Origin was a TCM Underground find. I was telling Hawk this before we got on the air. I recently got live TV with Hulu.
Do they have TCM?
Yeah, TCM's part of it. And it also has local channels and a couple other things. I find it less overwhelming than the big Uverse package they give you, which is like every standard definition channel, every HD channel, every channel ever.
Do you get USA with that?
Yeah. What, with Hulu or
with the Hulu package?
Yeah, USA's on there. You get Raw and SmackDown.
You're gonna watch some Raw and SmackDown, okay?
I watched some the other week, and I wasn't very impressed.
Oh, they've been it's been shit lately, and
it's been up and down. I'm an NXT guy. I love NXT so much, but no, we'll get into WWE maybe a little later. I don't know, but TCM Underground. I finally had a chance to get into this because I didn't have a Uverse receiver in my room. And I didn't want to have to shell out $10 plus $50 startup fee for it.
To get it installed and stuff?
Yeah, well, you don't have to really do much of an installation. They don't have to come out for it. They just mail it to you, but you have to pay them $50 anyways. And I thought that was kind of bullshit, so I just got rid of the Uverse television and upped my internet service and got Hulu Live TV. And I was like, all right, TCM Underground, what you got for me? And they had Of Unknown Origin, which is a reference to Peter Weller plays this bank executive in New York City, and his wife is I think it's like Shannon Tweeds or something. She was a Playboy.
Yeah. She's Gene Simmons' wife.
Oh, for real? Okay.
Yeah, no, she's Gene Simmons' wife. She was a Playboy playmate for a period of time, but she was in the film Detroit Rock City, and she's on that show Gene Simmons' Family Jewels. I think she's more known today as Gene Simmons' wife than she is like her own person.
That's interesting. Well, she's in the movie for a little bit. She and their daughter or son, I think it's their daughter, they leave to go on vacation while he stays at home in his nice kept loft or mini house or whatever it is. And slowly but surely he starts noticing there's some problems going on, and the maintenance man says that you have a pest, you have a rat. And over the course of the next 20 or 30 minutes, he does all this research on rats. At first, he doesn't take the threat too seriously. He just puts out a couple little traps. And the maintenance man, who used to be he was a Vietnam War vet, is like, "No, man, you gotta get serious about this shit." You know, he's like, you gotta learn about your enemy. You gotta do the research. You gotta, really get vicious and all that. And Peter Weller's just a banker. He doesn't, really give a shit. But
the bank say that I get promotion soon.
Yeah, exactly. So he slowly puts. I don't even know what that's a reference to.
The Room.
Oh, that's the Room. Oh, yes, it is.
He's a banker. He works for a bank.
Supposedly he works at a bank. Yeah, supposedly Tommy Wiseau works at a bank in that movie, or Johnny does. But no, Peter Weller gets all these books from the library, which is totally an '80s thing because no one goes to the library anymore. If you do, you're onto the computer or you're using the bathroom. Unfortunately, he's learning everything he can about rats. He's setting up more elaborate traps, and every once in a while he'll hear the rat. And over the course of the movie, he starts trying to talk to it. Like the rat will be up in the wall somewhere, and he'll be like, "Oh, hey there, buddy. Yeah, you're not gonna like what I got for you tonight, huh?" And it should be noted this movie is directed by George Cosmatos, who directed Cobra,
the Sylvester Stallone film.
The Sylvester Stallone movie, okay. Right? And he directed First Blood Part 2, I believe.
Okay.
You could see his style all over this movie. There are these shots, close-up shots of the rat. And the rat is fucking huge in this movie. It's not like as big as a person, but it's a pretty big-sized rat. It's like a sewer rat or something. And this rat is playing fucking games on Peter Weller throughout the whole movie. It's like it fucking kills a cat at one point that Peter Weller tries putting in there. It chews through this check that he leaves out for a pest exterminator. It practically leaves a fuck you note somewhere on the floor. It practically does that. It doesn't, not literally an FU note, but it's something like, comparable. It does all these little games and tricks with them. It's like super smart and intelligent. And you're not really sure if Peter Weller is imagining half of this shit or if this is just what he's feeling the rat's doing or if the rat is literally doing this stuff. And the movie ends with Peter Weller dressing up like the fucking exterminator, that 80s schlock Death Wish ripoff, the Exterminator 2 specifically. He has like this getup all over himself, like this armor, and then he's got a baseball bat that he's put razor blades and fucking nails and like super blades into, and it's like a fucking death machine. And he goes all around his house going, "Ah!" And he's like breaking shit, and he basically gets into this like final death battle with this rat.
Peter Weller in a death battle with a barbed wire bat.
Yeah, exactly. JR could be doing the fucking commentary for this. They have left their souls in the ring tonight, ladies and gentlemen. By God, he is broken in half.
Yeah, no, like I saw you talking about this in the Facebook chat, and I think you mentioned it on Twitter. And I've been very interested in seeing
it's
this
on
ever
Amazon.
since.
You can rent it right now.
It's on Amazon. Fucking awesome.
It's fucking crazy. It kind of has an ending that isn't what I would have done if I had done the movie. It's got a very happy ending. Like
that might have been a studio thing.
That was probably a studio thing. Like what happened? Do you want me to spoil it for you? Or
well, what I was gonna say, when George Romero passed, I watched the movie Monkey Shines. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen Monkey Shines.
Monkey Shines is like, it's not the same premise as you're talking about, but it's kind of similar thing. But that has like a happy ending, and I'm told that the studio kind of forced that on the movie.
Okay, well, do you want me to give away what happens at the end of Unknown Origin?
Sure.
No.
Okay.
Try not to.
Okay, I won't. But anyway,
I'm gonna watch it.
It's just a movie where Peter Weller dives deeper and deeper into this fucking one-on-one match with a rat. And that's exactly how you imagine it would turn out. It's beautiful. The ending is a little happier than I would have wanted, and it's not quite as resolute. It's not in its ending, but it's a very fun movie, and I haven't bought it on Amazon yet, but I really want to. It's a little too costly for the VOD purchase of it. If you were to rent it, it's about what it should be. But if you were to purchase it, it's like $20, and
oh geez,
like that's a little high. Even though
you could probably get it. Yeah, you could probably get the DVD of it for that price, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, I checked. The DVD for it is like 30 or something. Like it's actually like out of print, I think. But maybe that was just the new version of it. Maybe that wasn't the used. I don't know.
Give it a few years. Somebody might restore it and put it on Blu-ray.
I'll have to look it up some more. And maybe there's something on eBay. I don't know. But this was a great TCM Underground discovery, and I loved it. I wanted to watch it immediately afterwards. Like I only put it on in the background. I wasn't even initially paying attention to it, but I got wrapped up in it. I was like, wait a minute, he's fighting a rat?
Actually, TCM Underground introduced me to Class of 1984.
Oh, did I get the fucking gig? that fucking movie.
That's the thing, man. TCM Underground, watch it. It comes on.
It made me want to watch. Yeah, I know. It comes on like what? 2? Yeah, what did you say? 2 a.m.
2 a.m. Eastern, so 1 o'clock Central.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And they show shorts, and they show like maybe 2 features and a couple shorts or something, and they mix it up on there. It's pretty cool. I think after Of Unknown Origin, they showed Rattlers, which I didn't stick around for. It's a movie about snakes. It's like a snake exploitation.
Rattlers. Okay, I see.
Rattlers. Yeah. And so TCM has great programming around the clock, I would say. I just saw The Bad and the Beautiful, which is a Kirk Douglas movie where he plays a producer in Hollywood who's rather unscrupulous, and I mean he's a nice guy for the most part, but he's burned a couple of people, while reaching the top, and it's it's almost like a Citizen Kane format where it's like people recalling how they met him and what eventually led to them falling out with him. It's quite good. I would recommend that. I would go in further detail, but I think we got some other stuff to talk about. Now, TV show wise, I know Billion, you said you wanted to talk about some shows you've seen.
Yeah, so I'm into Star Trek Discovery.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and here's my history of Star Trek, which is I've seen. I think I've seen all the movies. No, I haven't seen all the original series movies. I have not seen like a few of them, but I have seen all the Next Gen movies. I've seen most of the original series. I've seen most of Next Gen. Not real into Deep Space Nine or Voyager, but Ken is a big fan of Deep Space Nine, so there is that kind of curiosity to check it out. Have not seen Star Trek Beyond yet, and I know.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh, okay. You haven't seen it either. I've heard it's really good, and I want to see it.
Yeah, I've been told it's better than it's actually the better of the trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've heard the same thing.
Going into it and then finally watching it.
I had very little information going into it. So far, there's only 3 episodes out, and the first 2 episodes are more of a prequel to what the series is than, like kind of like if you're familiar with the original series, the first like 1 or 2 episodes doesn't have William Shatner or like a chunk of the main cast.
Yeah,
and it plays kind of weird in that way. But so this series is similar, where it's sort of the character that we're going to follow through this series. This is her backstory in the first 2 episodes, and she is a first officer on some Federation ship. The series takes place a decade before the original series.
Oh, weird.
So
it is weird, timeline. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like I think a lot of people are really nitpicking this, and
Wasn't
of course,
wasn't Ken saying something about these first 2 episodes are supposed to be kind of like a test run, and then it's going to change after that or something? Like,
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and then I suppose it's like really actiony too.
Yes, yes, that's true. So this shit is weird. It's gonna sound so dumb, but the way the show presents it is probably less corny than it sounds. So the main character is like, am I still there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought my connection messed up. The main character is Spock's human adopted sister. Now, Spock is not in the show, but his father, Sarek, is. At least at this point, Spock could pop up. Spock could pop up at any freaking time. I don't know. But so that's who the main character is. And she's on this ship. She's the first officer. And they come across, for some reason, I don't remember why, she has to like go out and they basically get involved with some hostile Klingons who are on the verge of starting a war.
War? Yeah.
Yeah. Because at this point, they're sort of at a Cold War stalemate kind of thing where I don't fuck with you, you don't fuck with me, but we hate each other kind of thing. It's weird. And that's the Klingon element is really weird, and I've seen a lot of people complain about the way they designed the Klingons in this because they don't look like like your typical Worf or original series movies Klingons. I don't like really the redesigns, but whatever. I'm not gonna throw a shit fit about it. What I like about this show is that it is trying to appeal to a more modern audience, but it does sort of feel like Star Trek at its heart. The first 2 episodes are all about the main character commits mutiny against the captain because she thinks she knows how to deal with the Klingons better, and the captain won't listen to her. Basically, that goes to hell for her, and she gets put in the brig of the ship, and all hell starts breaking loose. And long story short, she gets sentenced to life in space prison or whatever.
Everything is better when you put the word space in front of it.
Yeah.
Except for Space Trump. Space Trump makes it sound worse.
Yeah.
Space Trump is.
I don't like that.
Accurate.
I don't like that. But so episode 3 of the show kind of really gives you the idea of what the series is going to be. It's she's being transported to space prison. Something goes wrong, and her and a bunch of other prisoners are rescued by the USS Discovery, Starship Discovery, whatever the fuck they call ships in Star Trek. And basically, you start to the girl that's the mutineer, the main character, is once the other prisoners, after a few days, are sent to the prison colony, they offer her a chance to work on the ship with them, and she's kind of suspicious about it. And there's other shit going on, and I'm excited. It could end up blowing up in my face because one of them, Alex Kurtzman and Robert Orsi, is I think the showrunner of the thing.
Oh, great.
It's Kurtzman.
It's not both of them. It's just one of them.
Oh, great.
Yeah, but so far I like it. But that's the thing is that if you look at, did they work on Lost, those guys?
Yeah.
Okay, I know that Lindelof and Abrams did. I didn't know if those two did. But it's Lost is super compelling when it first started. But then you kind of realize oh, there's really nothing.
They're kind of spinning their tires by season 4.
Right. So I'm wary of Star Trek Discovery, but I've enjoyed what they've released so far, and I think the cast is great. Doug Jones is basically your resident alien face character in this, and Doug Jones is awesome. So
he is awesome.
Yeah, he I can't remember his character's name, but he's some new alien race that they've introduced. So far, it's positive. So far, I like it. And I hope that they don't drop the ball with it. And then after I watched the 2-part pilot of Star Trek Discovery, I said, Oh, I've seen these ads for the Seth MacFarlane thing called the Orville.
Oh, the Orville.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
I was going to ask you about that. I was like, so now how about Seth MacFarlane's Star Trek?
Yeah,
We've already gone that far.
I have only watched the first episode, and I did not like it. I've actually seen, I'm in a Red Letter Media Facebook group, and I've seen a few people saying that it gets better, but I don't know. I did not like the first episode of the Orville. It felt like the thing, it's an homage to Star Trek, specifically, I think, Next Gen. Like, it has a lot in common with Next Gen. But it's like, it never felt like it went above just being an homage. Like, it didn't feel interested in giving itself its own personality or having something unique about it other than, isn't it cool that we're doing this?
Yeah, that's exactly the sense I got from watching the trailer. It's kind of like, oh, Seth MacFarlane's making a Star Trek movie or show.
Yeah. And it's like the comedy is there. It's not particularly funny. In fact, I don't know, like the premise.
I've read it's almost more of a drama than it is a comedy.
Well, again, not that first episode, I don't think. At least, that first episode, it doesn't take itself too seriously, but it does have the moments where it's like, oh, we really want to establish our own little sci-fi lore here. But it's so reminiscent of Star Trek that it's just like, why did you do this?
That's one of my problems with Seth MacFarlane is that he has. I love that he's so passionate about certain things like Back to the Future and Star Trek, but I also remember distinctly. I think it was like season 5 of Family Guy. The first 3 episodes of that season, whatever it was, had at least one Back to the Future reference each. And it's like, so he has his references, but he doesn't always know what to do with them. Like, it's clear that he loves these things, but it doesn't go much further than just doing that thing again without putting its own spin on it.
I wasn't into the Orville. The premise of it is that Seth MacFarlane he's in Starfleet. I don't remember what they call it, but he's in fucking Starfleet.
Yeah.
And he's got a wife who I think is a higher ranking officer than him. He walks in on her cheating on him with an alien one day. And by the way, the alien squirts blue shit out of his head to like represent that he came. That's the thing. That's a joke that happens within the first few minutes of it.
And this is on television.
That was on, well, it's not just television, network television. But so, long story short here, he becomes captain of this ship called the Orville like a year later. And then they're like, oh, we're going to assign you a first officer. Who's your first officer? Oh, we'll find you a first officer. And it's his fucking ex-wife. And then it's like some fucking, will they, won't they get back together thing? Hey, in space.
Hey, in space.
Stakes. That's real stakes, guys.
Yeah, it's basically like they wanted, like Seth MacFarlane's goal, from what I can tell about the pilot. I haven't seen the rest of the episodes, but based on what I can tell from the pilot, is like you want the lore of Star Trek Next Gen with plots that, well, you maybe want to do, Star Trek type plots in there, but like you have these elements that are more reminiscent of like laugh track sitcoms.
Ugh.
The whole, like I said, like, oh, it's his ex-wife that got assigned to be his first officer. Isn't that wacky?
Does it have a
record
track?
skips? It's its ex-wife.
Yes. Yeah.
What's gonna happen when these two are together on a spaceship?
And that's because, again, like I didn't feel like it was bringing anything to the table, and that maybe watching that is what makes me like Star Trek Discovery a lot more, because I feel like they're doing new things with a Star Trek TV show. Maybe not, they're not breaking new ground yet or whatever. I don't know, but I enjoyed that I felt a lot more passion from the people making it than I did for the Orville.
Okay.
So yeah, that's that. I don't think I'll be watching any more of the Orville.
The Orville, yeah, it's such a catchy name, isn't it? Orville Redenbacher. That's kind of what it reminds me of. Bill, you also, going back to TCM Underground.
Yes.
I'm really interested to know what you felt about, or how you felt about Eraserhead, which you saw for the first time. David Lynch's Eraserhead.
Yeah. It's one of those movies, like, as I was watching it, I was like, I know this is good, but I'm not really, processing it. And as the days have gone by, I'm like, I want to rewatch that. I like that. You've seen it, Hawk?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
I think you've all seen it. Yeah.
Shit.
I got into a big David Lynch kick years ago, and I just, over the course of a week, watched Twin Peaks, Eraserhead, Mulholland Drive, Blue Velvet.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch the Tractor movie.
This is the second. I've really only seen this and Wild at Heart. Those are my 2 David Lynch movies.
You really need to get into them some more. Like Elephant Man, I would recommend.
Okay. Yeah.
I think my 2 favorites are Mulholland Drive and Blue Velvet.
I'm an Inland Empire fanatic. I love that film.
I don't know if I ever saw Inland Empire.
It's kind of hard to find now because it's not really on VOD. It was only ever really released on DVD.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Yeah. But I loved it. I love Inland Empire. But I'm interested to know. Okay, Bill, you've only really seen Wild at Heart from David Lynch.
Well, actually, I've seen that in oddly enough, Dumbland. I've seen.
Yes, you've talked about Dumbland a lot. I've seen Dumbland too. Yeah,
it's really weird.
It's really weird, really funny, absurd cartoon, very crude cartoon. It's crudely drawn and it's just crudely written, all that. But as someone who hasn't gotten into Lynch as much, what compelled you to turn on Eraserhead?
You talking about TCM Underground reminded me of like discovering new movies through that platform, and happened to have the opportunity to watch it on Saturday. I looked up on my phone. I was like, "What's going to be on tonight?" And it was like Eraserhead and a bunch of short films that David Lynch has done.
The grandmother was going to be one of those.
I kind of watched those in passing. Like I had the TV on, and then in the kitchen, and as I was making food. That was more just like, okay, I don't need to pay entire attention to this.
I would. I mean, the grandmother's actually pretty funny.
They were great,
and a little endearing
background
too.
Noise.
Yeah. So Eraserhead. I want you to describe to me what Eraserhead is about.
Eraserhead.
As someone who just watched it and is still processing it, what is it about?
It is about the fear of fatherhood and settling down, and feeling trapped by domesticity. Is that a word? Is that a real word?
I think if domestication, maybe. Domesticity sounds like it should be a word.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, it's English. Fuck it. It's a word now.
Yeah, really. I mean, they made dough a word.
I was wondering the day how the word gander for a male goose is the same word as taking. I want to take a gander at that thing. They mean completely separate things with the same fucking word.
Now, I did not realize the guy that's the lead, the guy that plays Henry in Eraserhead, he's the old man from the sawmill in Twin Peaks.
Yes.
Yep.
I never realized that, and then I was like, "Oh, that's weird."
There's a fish in the percolator.
There's a fish. He was excited when he read that line. There's a fish in the percolator. And then, like, fucking the agent Cooper's like gagging on his coffee now. So Eraserhead, you saw the first. Obviously, you opened the movie up, and the movie opens with this journey into this planet and this guy working this lever. And what did you think about that shit?
I did not even like. I just thought of that as just weird abstract imagery, and I didn't. I'm sure. I'm like, okay, this is symbolic of something, but I don't know. But
the other stuff you got though, right? Like the sperm he pulled out of her, and that the lady in the radiator was crushing under her feet, and
some things. I mean,
some things.
A lot. I did watch the review, the Red Letter Media review of the episode.
Okay.
After I had watched it, so that kind of put things into context a little more, at least by their interpretation. You know what I mean? But it's like, and I wasn't bothered by not understanding what was going on. I was more just like fascinated, like, what does this mean?
I remember my first time with Eraserhead going into it. My dad told me in anticipation of me watching it that it was a very violent picture. And I was like,
what?
Violent in what way? Like,
what the ending.
Maybe the ending, but I think he meant atmospherically violent. Like the attitude was very on edge. You know, it was not violent like you know, I'm gonna kick your ass. It was more violent like it's just a brutal picture, you know. And he was kind of right. I was just, my jaw was open almost the entire time I was watching it. I watched it in bed. I put it on, I think I rented it from Netflix back when they were doing DVDs, which I think they still do, but it's not something they promote as much. But I rented it and I put it on and I was just glued completely to the TV. I was thinking, like, what the fuck am I watching? You know, I processed it as I was watching it and I got it, but it was just, I had never really seen a vision of a nightmare so accurately portrayed before, you know. And I can't say I identified with Henry so much, but I did very much get what he was feeling and how he was understanding the things around him and how things were happening to him. I think Lynch is great at kind of projecting those things. But that really, this was my college day. These are my college days when I was showing films on campus that were fucked up films to students who were eager to watch. That was kind of our thing after a while. We'd show Salo, the 120 Days of Sodom. We'd show, which I did a podcast on many years ago for Movie Boozer. We did Happiness, the Todd Solondz film. We did other Todd Solondz films. In fact, pretty much every Todd Solondz film is fucked up in some way, except maybe Dark Horse. It's probably his lightest movie.
I just laugh because every time, like, Salo comes up a lot with you, as an answer to the dumbest questions. Like, I think last time I heard it, it was like, what film would be the worst with an Arnold Schwarzenegger commentary? Your immediate response in like seconds was a Salo. You just threw it out.
Oh, Salo, yeah, whatever. What's funny is Salo is something that is artistically really good. It's a Pasolini film, so it's going to be, you know, it's going to have some good meaning behind it. It's going to have some good subtext and everything. It's going to be very rich visually. It's also very disturbing and very gross. You know, I mean, of course, it was written originally by the Marquis de Sade. It's going to be, you know, very fucked up and everything. But if you can get through it, I think it's a very rewarding experience. Honestly, I do. And but, you know, in answering that question about Arnold Schwarzenegger doing DVD commentaries, I mean, I thought that would be a funny answer. I mean, I just thought, like, just imagine him trying to understand this movie. You know, like, so this is the scene where the characters eat poop.
Exactly.
Like there's more to it than just the characters are eating poop. It's also, you know, the fact they're going deeper and deeper into the darkness of human capability and stuff like that. Well, this is the scene with the boy and the girl, they have sex. This is the scene where they shoot the guy or they cut his tongue out. This is the scene where this happens. You know, like dude. What are you about to say, Zach?
The poop is what sticks with you.
The poop is what sticks with you. Literally
really does stick with you.
It really does stick with you. Yeah.
That's the quote for the box of the Criterion re-release.
The poop really sticks with you. Yeah, like it sticks with you. Yeah. I believe that's in the essay on the inside of the pamphlet. Yeah.
Yeah, there's written by
Armand
Black.
Yeah, Armand White. Almond Black. Yes.
Almond Black. Yeah.
We gotta do some more Almond Black articles, by the way.
We do. Those were enjoyable exercises.
Those were very fun. But I just bring up Salo every once in a while because it's like the most fucked up movie I can think of.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I mean,
have you heard of the movie?
Have I what?
Have you heard of the movie this year about the people that become human anuses?
Was that Kuso?
No.
There's a new Adam Sandler movie coming out this year.
already human anus.
We are the Flesh. Because I've heard We Are the Flesh is related to Salo in some ways.
Was it Raw?
It's not that. Nope. That's a good movie, by the way.
I don't want to Google a movie where people turn into buttholes.
Yeah, and I'm on my work laptop doing that right now.
I think I know what you're talking about. I've heard of this movie, but I can't think of the title.
I think it's called Assholes.
You might be right. Let me quickly.
Yeah, it's called Assholes.
I see. Okay, yeah, I did a search on IMDb.
Yep.
Assholes.
Yeah, Ada and Aaron are recovering addicts who struggle to stay sober. After meeting in their psychoanalyst waiting room, they fall in love, relapse on poppers, and become the biggest assholes in New York City. The problem is that they're very literal about that.
Okay, I get you. No, I haven't seen this yet, and I did hear about it making its initial festival run, and I think it's still playing festivals. It's definitely not playing the New Orleans Film Festival, which is next week. If it were, I'd be first in line for it. That sounds right up my alley. Just something very absurd and crazy, and right up all of our alleys, really. And right up something else too.
It's like somebody's called it Mumblecore Salo, so that's something that's up your alley.
But Mumblecore is really. It's not really in vogue anymore, is it? It's not really something that you've done a lot.
No,
I think
here's an excerpt. Here's an excerpt from the review.
Okay.
A manic, privileged addict who introduces himself by whipping his flaccid penis in somebody's face. Adam is regrettably the closest thing this story has to a moral sinner.
Yeah, we're gonna watch that.
So it's Jackass.
Yeah, we are. We're gonna watch that.
Yeah, we're definitely watching that.
I hope it's not another Kuso though.
No, God, Kuso was terrible. Yeah,
awful.
Just truly awful. But maybe it'll be like Greasy Strangler, and it'll turn out to be like a beautiful gem.
Yes, one can hope. I mean, we also have this year's pseudo Greasy Strangler in Lemon, but another one is totally fine with me.
Yeah, that's the pseudo Greasy Strangler. Yes, in terms of linguistic dissonance and weird communication skills.
This could be the true Greasy Strangler.
Yes. By the way, if you haven't seen Lemon yet, go rent it on Amazon right now. It is a great film.
Agreed.
I got to get on that.
Yeah. Zach, you got to watch Lemon.
Brett Gelman.
Yeah, I intend on doing it. I'm sorry. I'm reading this review, and
oh my
God. His movie doesn't really start firing on all cylinders until parentheses. You can just stop reading this review here if you want. Close parentheses. Yeah. Aaron sticks his fists into Ada's rectum and parentheses. Whoa. Just go outside. It's a lovely day. In parentheses. Frees a life-size 7-year-old woman from her large intestines.
One has to wonder how this is going to be allegorical for recovering addiction.
Yeah, or how visually they're going to represent this. Like literally, he pulls it out of this guy's ass. Or
I think very visually. From what I've heard, this is.
We had a viewer for a second. Then when we were talking about the Assholes movie, they dropped off.
Seriously,
but now someone is back. Someone is back.
Okay, welcome back. Welcome back, viewers.
They can't get enough of that asshole talk.
Yeah, it might be Ken.
Yeah, I mean
it's not Ken.
Yeah, we'll go back to serious filmdom, but
well, I don't know. I think Assholes was a pretty serious sounding film. I mean,
I think it played Sundance. It played South by Southwest. Like
there you go. It's got some some street cred. The viewer left, by the way.
Yeah, we're still talking about assholes. That's the problem. Just checking in.
If we could track down that movie, I think we should all do a rabbit screening of it, if that's even possible.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my best to get some.
I'm just gonna have to send my wife to a hotel or something, but I think we can make this work.
Yes. I'm gonna do what I can, and hopefully we'll figure it out. But what else we got on the docket? Are we?
I think that's it.
I know it's like 10:07 right now in my time. Yeah, I think that is just about it. I think I know Ken wanted to talk a little bit about Tom Petty, and he wanted to talk about some other movies and TV, like The Innkeepers that Hawk and he saw, and I could talk about The Innkeepers if y'all want to. I've seen it.
We could do that. I would almost recommend we save it for next week when Ken can talk about it having seen it fresh, and you and I can supplement it having seen it before.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan. All right. Tomorrow we have the early release of Blade Runner 2049, which I will be seeing in Dolby Atmos.
Do you guys think that's going to flop?
No.
Critically, it's got great word of mouth and great.
No, I meant financially.
Oh, no, financially, I think it's going to do really well. I can't say if it's going to be exceptional.
I'm going to guess 600 million internationally.
Okay.
Damn.
What's the budget?
Worldwide. Budget is like 250.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's a fucking really high budget for an independently financed sci-fi R-rated film.
Right. Artistic sci-fi film. Right. Yeah, it's got that going for it.
I like how you put the word artistic as if to suggest that the other expensive, independently financed sci-fi film this year was not.
Well, what is the other one?
Valerian? Valerian in the City of a Thousand Bullshit.
Well, that was kind of artistic visually in some. I mean, I don't want to take away from the storyboarders and the people who did production design on that movie, because there was a lot of phenomenal things to look at. It's just, I think the script and the casting and the direction was not really good. But everything else, I mean, you can tell there was artistic quality being put into it in places that normally aren't recognized.
I would counter that Valerian had artistic intent.
Yes, okay, intent, yes. Okay, that's fine. What else is coming out this weekend? Is it just Blade Runner, or is it something else?
Well, there's a lot coming out this weekend.
Mountain.
The Mountain Between Us.
Okay.
Yeah. There's like two other things. Oh, the My Little Pony movie. Which looks just shitty enough for me to want to go see it, but I don't want to be associated with the bronies.
Yeah, we had a brony fest here in New Orleans a couple of years ago, so I'm familiar with that. I didn't go to that fest, but I did get an invitation to it, which I didn't accept. Maybe I should have. I don't know.
I mean, more power to them. Like, I don't care if people like pony and dress up like ponies and do shit like that. But
one of my favorite episodes of Bob's Burgers is the one that makes fun of that. You know, they go to the brony fest and Bob has to dress up like one to infiltrate the head group of bronies to get back.
The movie looks fun in like a really stupid, like it looks kind of shitty, like shitty kids movies are.
Yeah.
So I might try to see that just because it looks, again, super dumb. Felix saw Jeepers Creepers 3.
Oh.
She said it was terrible. Apparently the car he drives is sentient and eats people now.
Nice. Okay.
So I want to see that, but it's the only place it's playing is a half hour away from me.
And the movie was made by a child molester, so it's like, you know.
It made by a child molester and also has a character who was molested as a child.
So it's a comment. Okay, all right,
yeah. Apparently, there's even a part where there's like a 13-year-old girl where some guy was like, well, "No wonder that happened to her. I mean, look at her." And
God.
That got edited out of the theatrical version of the movie, but was still part of the screener that critics got. So lots of backlash already.
Yeah, no shit.
I have not seen the Jeepers Creepers movies, so I might have to do that this weekend.
I saw the ending to the first one, and I thought, well, that's a way to end a movie.
I'm told that it's the movies are something that I might get a kick out of in terms of just how dumb they are.
Maybe, I don't know.
But we'll see. I don't know. I also kind of have some... I don't know. There's the movie and the creator, the fact that this director did all the, assaulted a kid. It's like
there's an interesting argument to be made for and against watching these movies. So I wouldn't hold it against you if you were to watch it. It's not big deal to me. It's just one of those things that I think of when I, like, it's like Roman Polanski. I'm like, well, yeah, he's a great director, but am I really going to watch one of his movies?
Yeah, exactly that. Like, do I want to support this guy? I mean, do I want to support this guy by renting it on Amazon and doing it? Like, I don't know. I probably will, but I absolutely don't think that's cool that he's doing that. Like it's offensive and it's fucked up, and nobody should. Absolutely. I mean, no, there's nothing else to be said about it. Like, it's just hard to say.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
How good will I feel having seen this? Knowing that I paid money to support a movie that this monster made.
Ooh. Yes. Yeah. So there's a lot on our plates coming up this weekend. So we'll have a lot to talk about next week, and hopefully Ken will be on. Hopefully his internet service will be sorted out, and we'll be able to catch up with him. If you guys want to, anyone watching the one person that's watching this, I know I see you. You can follow us on Twitter at MovieBoozer. You can visit our website, movieboozer.com, for reviews and articles and columns and other past podcasts and the like.
Other jiggery pokery.
Jiggery pokery and gobbledygook. Follow us on like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Facebook, but like us there too. Come back next week, Wednesday, maybe Friday. I think Wednesday though. We usually do this Wednesday nights at 8. So 8 Central Standard Time. So thank you very much for joining. We were the Movie Boozer crew, and have a good night.
Good night.
Adios.